Hey everyone, Draco Magnius here for another episode of Let's Play 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. In the last episode, we looked around the ship using our keys and we found some areas, and unfortunately we found Snake, who was murdered, probably by Zero. Now, we have to think about the validity of this claim that Clover is making. It's possible that one of us, the few members here, are Zero. But who it could be, I have no clue. It can't be... I guess that's possible. It's crazy, but it's possible. Oh wait, I should have been reading that, damn it. What are you saying, Jumpy? Didn't you hear what I said? Exactly. I said we shouldn't suspect one another for no reason. No reason? I've got a great reason. And what's that? Bracelets. He held out his left arm. Why are the bombs in our bodies connected to the bracelets? You're all thinking Zero's hiding somewhere watching us, right? If he's doing that, then he could just detonate the bombs by remote control if someone did something they weren't supposed to. It would be a lot more precise and a lot easier. But if that's the case, then why is the bomb set off by the detonator in the bracelet? Huh, you got a point. I'm not done. Try applying the same ideas to the nonary game. All of the puzzles here are run by themselves. In other words, Zero doesn't have to be controlling them for the game to move forward. Why is that? Why would Zero bother to do something like that? Junpei let the question hang in the air, then looked at the others. It was Santa who answered. So let's say you and Clover are right. Zero's one of us. If that's the case, then it'd be really hard for him to keep track of all of us or control anything remotely. That's why all the puzzles are run by themselves. That's what you're getting at, right? Yeah. Junpei nodded. 7. When we were talking earlier, you said any one of us could be Snake's killer, right? Yeah, something like that. Alright then, I've got a question for you, Ace. You said something like Zero must be the one who killed Snake, right? Yes, something like that. I can't think of any other explanation. So what do we get if we combined those? They fit together pretty well, I think. Something like this. Whoever killed Snake equals Zero equals one of us. 7 and Ace's theories aren't mutually exclusive. They actually complement each other pretty well. At least they do if Zero is one of us. No one spoke. Their faces were grim, but Junpei wasn't sure if they believed him or not. Finally, Lotus spoke up. What were his motives? His motives? Yes. Isn't that pretty important? Why would Zero want to hide as one of us? That's true. Well, that's because, Junpei choked. He hadn't thought of that, and he had to be honest with himself. He had no idea. I don't know. Lotus sighed. Well, so much for making a persuasive argument, Junpei. In other words, you only had circumstantial evidence. I don't really think that's enough to go on, you know? Junpei was painfully aware of their eyes on him and their disapproval. He tried to find something else, anything else to look at. Just when he felt he could bear no longer... They heard a bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase. 3 in the morning. That means we have 3 hours left. That's hitting crunch time. Then we need to move, now. 7, Clover, Junpei. I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you? Junpei couldn't bring himself to respond. He swallowed the words he wanted to say and sighed. 7 and Clover remained similarly silent. Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else, very far away. We must go. We have very little time left. Ace's words put their feet moving. They all knew where they were going. Their next destination was Mercury. They sat bolted to the wall near the stairs that led to the casino and the kitchen between the two elevators. The Mercury card reader. Junpei stood in front of it with the Mercury card. Seven had given him the card. I found it when we were checking out the shower room. Oh. At least that's what he said. Junpei slid the card through the reader. The light on the reader turned green and made a tiny electric sound. Now they were ready. Junpei and June had been chosen as the investigators. The reasoning being that they had been to the E deck before and no one else had. As before, Junpei sent the elevator ahead to make sure the floor they were heading to wasn't flooded. As before, the elevator returned dry as when it had left. Once it had been checked for water, Junpei and June stepped into the elevator. There were only 2 floor buttons they could push. C and bottom buttons. The rest were destroyed or did nothing when pushed. Junpei hit bottom button. The door closed. Now here's the thing. The door closed. They slowly began to move downward. Anyway, as I was saying, here's the thing. If there's another number door this way, that's 3 different doors out of the 4 I said were possible. 1, 6, 9, and 2. And if there are 3, we have 2 choices that are on the bottom decks, and 1 that's up near the top. And if we think about it reasonably, 1 is probably the safest door, but if we all want to stay in the same area, we probably need to use these doors. Sometime later, Junpei and June stepped off the elevator onto the bottom deck. They stepped off and saw that the hallway to their right ended somewhere between 20 and 25 feet from them. The hallway in front of them was a dead end. But not a regular dead end. Fuck. This is a numbered door. This is the 8th one we found. There were 2 numbered doors on B deck, near the central staircase. They were doors 4 and 5. There were 3 more numbered doors in the large hospital room, doors 3, 7, and 8. Junpei and June had found another door on E deck, and Lotus and Santa had found a 7th on deck A. There was 6 on the door on the E deck, and 1 on the door in the A deck. 4, 5, 3, 7, 8, 6, 1, and now door 2 stood in front of Junpei. It's only one thing it meant. Do you think the next door we find? Yeah, I think so. The next one's gonna be door 9. Despite himself, Junpei felt excited. There was something about that excitement that frightened him as well. He did his best to put it from his mind and headed back to C deck with June. Oh boy. Alright, let's open these up. Pieces of paper they folded up lay on the ground next to Junpei's legs. There were 7 of them all in total. They were all written on paper pulled from Junpei's notebook, and each bore a code name and a door. Why had they decided to vote that way? They decided it was fair to simply ask everyone at once. That would allow people to force others to go through certain doors. Well, that wasn't the only reason. Junpei had proposed the voting system, and he had a plan. It wasn't a plan he wanted anyone catching wind of, however, so he did his best to act calm as he began to open and read the pieces of paper. The first one read, Ace requests door 1. Yes, I do. Would you like me to explain why? No, we don't have time for that. Sorry. Let's keep going. He opened the second one. Next is Santa. He wants door 6. Yeah, that's what I wrote. Junpei continued with the third, fourth, and fifth pieces of paper. Clover wants 1, Lotus wants 2, and 7 also wants 2. Eh? Wait a minute! There's no way I'm going anywhere with that elephant man! No. There'd be no point to voting if we let people change their choices because of stuff like that. But... Just give up, Lotus. It's not like I want to hang out with some exhibitionist grandma. Really? I'm not an exhibitionist! I'm wearing clothes! Barely. So? Last I checked, that's not a crime! Maybe. But what about common decency? Is this really the time to be having this discussion? Nobody wants to have to look at a chick who looks like a half-naked raisin. She doesn't look like a raisin, and she is half-naked. I'm going to kill you! Lotus' hair flared out like the mane of an angry lion. She roared with a voice that shook the walls. With some difficulty, Ace managed to restrain her. Junpei, read the rest. Right. Junpei tore his eyes away and looked down at the 6th piece of paper. He opened it. June wants door 6. Yes. I don't really have a reason. I just felt like it. All of the other papers, save Junpei, had been read. He did some quick calculations in his head. People who requested door 1, Ace and Clover. This was the door on A deck, near the central staircase. People who requested door 2, 7 and Lotus. This was the door on the bottom deck, and could be reached by taking the elevator to the bottom of the ship. People who requested door 6, Santa and June. 6, 3, 5. This was the door on the E deck and could be reached by taking the elevator near the central staircase down. It took him less than a second to run the numbers. He opened the 7th piece of paper and spoke. Okay, last one is mine. I want to go through... Okay, I have to think this through carefully. Now, if we go on the assumption that all of these lead to the same place, as does every other one, because Zero wouldn't have them all split up for no reason, it doesn't technically matter which door I want to go through. But alternatively, it might mean everything. Because maybe this is the door that they won't all meet up in the same locale. Trying to think. I need to add up to 6. 5, 6, 3. Oh, so Ace would have to give up on his option of going to the other room if we wanted to do that. Okay. What about for door number 2? Who wanted to go into 2 again? I think it was 7 and Lotus. Oh, so I would just have to go with the both of them. I haven't been around 7 all that long, and they're going to need someone to keep them from killing each other. I know I can trust the others, but someone was just murdered, and if we believe that Zero is with them, it would be in our best interest to stay with June. I think I'm going to go 6. I want to go through door 6. Junpei flipped open the piece of paper. It read Junpei, door 6. Of course it did. He'd written it after all. That's a problem. June spoke barely above a whisper, but they all knew what she'd said. None of these teams will be able to go through the doors they want. Clover and I chose door 1. Lotus and I chose door 2. It's not enough people to open numbered doors, however. The digital routes don't match up either. We've got similar problems. June, Junpei, and I want to go through door 6, but our digital route is 5. If we're gonna open that door, we need a 1. Damn. What are we going to do now? What are we going to do? Junpei crossed his arms and did his best to put his thoughts in order. The others followed suit, but with little result. Eventually, Clover broke the silence. Why don't Seven and Lotus go through door 1? With me? Her face was cold and flat, as was her voice, but her logic was sound. Seven and Lotus looked at each other. 7 plus 8 plus 4 is 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. The first problem resolved. Ace spoke up. What about me? Isn't that obvious? Wasn't one of the teams just complaining that they didn't have a 1? You mean I should join Santa's team? Clover nodded, her face still cold and emotionless. Her attitude and posture could not have been more different than the energetic girl of only a few hours before. No one seemed ready to contradict her. Her response was understandable, given the horrible situation she had found herself. But even so... I understand. I will go through door 6, then. If we do as Clover suggests, we can all pass through a numbered door. No one will be left behind. This seems the most reasonable solution. 3 plus 6 plus 5 plus 1 equals 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. 7, Lotus, what do you guys think? I don't have a problem with it. Me either. Alright then, we're good to go. But we're going in opposite directions, which means I may have made a crucial mistake. The other thing I was worried about is 4 might need someone to, like, comfort her. She's in a bit of an emotional state right now. And also she might do something a bit crazy, considering we brought up the fact that one of us might be 0. Considering she's with 7, a really big dude, and Lotus, who seems to be able to take care of herself. If she lashes out at either of them, they'll be fine. Where was I? At last, Junpei and the other 6 had managed to separate themselves into 2 teams. Clover, 7, and Lotus headed to A deck, where door 1 was, near the main staircase. Junpei, June, Ace, and Santa, however, took the elevator to E deck. The ride to E deck was a silent one. Alright, let's go. Santa's word jolted them to action, and they stepped out of the elevator into a long, straight hallway. Before long, they arrived in front of a door, 6. One by one, they put their palms over the red. Okay, here we go. With a soft electronic noise, it authenticated each of them. The door opened, and all at once, the 4 of them leapt through it. Fortunately, the dead was located easily enough. This one had been placed quite close to the door they entered through. They gathered around it quickly and hurriedly placed their palm on it for authentication one by one. It stopped. Yes, it stopped. The countdown had ceased, but Junpei's heart was still pounding in his chest, like a frantic, thunderous drum. It felt as though it might shake itself up and out of his throat. He'd been through the doors 3 times before, but the repetition had not dulled the experience. He was not anxious to find it dulled, however. He hoped to be free of this ridiculous game long before that happened. Alright, let's go. With that attempt at good humor, Junpei took a deep breath and began to walk. He jogged down the stairs at the end of the hallway and found himself staring at a large door. It was a heavy thing, made of iron, and more than a little threatening. He took a hold of the bar that served as its doorknob and shoved it down.